Hey everyone, it's Enjoy English School. I'm Chris Gorski.
I'm Antony.
Welcome back to day 2 of our Taking a Factory Tour.
我们今天继续介绍商用英语的第二天咯。第二天我们一样要介绍是参访工厂。我们昨天呢有提到说，Mr. Campbell 到这个地方来，他是投资方，对不对？然后 Louisa 小姐呢是代表公司来接待他的，然后跟他讲说，我们看完工厂之后会看2个区域，然后看完之后呢会带您到那个餐厅里头跟我们的 CEO 共进午餐。这是我们昨天发生的内容。
We really heard a lot of great formal English.For kind of everyday phrases. If you didn't listen to day 1, make sure you do. I thought it was really quite informative. One of the verbs we'll see soon.
Yeah, 没错。所以如果你还没有看过昨天的这个对话的话，我建议各位先去看昨天的对话，先知道了之后，你会发现到哇，这个资讯量提供的非常非常的多，你会可以用到这个字叫做 informative。我们待会儿会马上看到这个字哦。
All right, just before we begin, I wanted to talk about a famous factory tour you can do in the United States.
所以在我们的故事开始之前呢，老师想先跟大家介绍一下，你到美国去的话，你可以去参访的工厂。
The city of Atlanta is the home of Coca-Cola. That's where it was invented, and they have a factory tour.OK,
所以在亚特兰大城这边呢，他们因为是这个可口可乐的这个根据地，所以如果你到那边去的话，你可以去参访一下可口可乐工厂哦。
Most of the factory is actually a museum for their arts and advertising, and it's really cool.
如果很多时候你进去的话，看到他们这个博物馆介绍了他们以往各式各样的那种广告啦，还有产品啦
magazines. You can see the history of Santa because Coca-Cola is a big part of modern Santa.
是哦，所以说今天你还可以看到这个 Santa Claus 那个 Santa 嘛，对不对？
因为圣诞老公公本来 is like short little monster man, but Coca-Cola made him like 我们现在想到的那个广告。Yeah.
原来是这样子，所以说今天现在看到的圣诞老公公是比较大的，然后他其实也是成人大人，然后也是由那个可口可乐公司他们所制作出来的这样一个形象。
And very quickly, the thing I wanted to tell you is that at the end of the tour, they have these big fountains shooting Coca-Cola and Sprite, and it's super cool and beautiful. And then the next room is like this very simple room with all these very interesting Cokes from around the world.
原来如此，所以到最后这个参观的尾声之后，你会看到一个很大的喷泉，他们在这个喷泉里面会喷来喷去各式各样的可口可乐，而且你
就是很平常的，
然后到另外一个房间里，他会告诉你世界上各国的可乐的样子。
And that's a very simple, boring room. And 他们故意的 because you can drink all the Coke and Sprite you want, but 这个很便宜。It's the next room, the very simple room with the very rare and hard to buy Cokes from 南非或者非洲 or Africa or Europe 的话，those are the really expensive ones, and they don't want you to actually drink a lot.
Yeah, 没有错。所以说在前面的话，你有个这个喷泉区是可以喝很便宜的可乐。到了后面的话，世界各地的可乐那个比较稀有，比较罕见，所以你可以去看，他们不会让你一直喝到饱。
Yeah.It's fun little. Check it out if you go. So we have 13 lines today, and our subtitle today is 1 hour later, the tour has finished.
好，所以在这副标题里面告诉你说，1个小时之后呢，这个参访已经结束了，所以他差不多要上1个小时的这种参访嘛，对不对？1个小时结束了，他们开始对话。
And we use present perfect tense, 因为还有受到the tour 的那个影响 so it's present perfect tense here, but we could use past tense.
也可以使用这个 past tense, 过去式也可以，你可以用现在的这个完成式。
So don't forget to mark your lines. And line 1, Mr. Campbell says, "Thank you for the tour, Louisa. It was very informative."
Hey, 我们刚刚是不是在前面提到这个开场的时候就提到 informative， 在这边就碰到了。Thank you for the tour, Louisa. 好，很感谢你耶。带我这样子看一圈 ，It was very informative。好，告诉我好多资讯哦。这个字是来自于 information，information 是不可数的名词，把它后面的 on 去掉，变成 ve， 就变成了形容词 informative。
In line 2, Louisa says, "I'm glad that I could be of assistance. I'm glad I could help you. I hope you gained a thorough understanding of our operations here at Ivy Snacks."
好，他就告诉你说 ，I'm glad that I could be of assistance. Be of assistance 就是指 help 其实事实上可以说 I'm glad that I could help 就好，但是 be of assistance 听起来感觉很正式的感觉，说我很高兴能够帮得上忙。I hope you gain a thorough 小心这个字的拼字哦，我对于那种什么 thorough though 那些字
I get a lot of throw
哦天哪好恐怖哦，所以这个地方 thorough 它是 tho 那个 o 常常会被忽略掉，所以这里边要特别小心，它的念法也很小心。thorough 就是 very careful thorough understanding of our operations 希望我们在这个介绍之后你会对于我们的营运有非常清楚明白完全的了解 Here at Ivy Snacks 这是我们公司的名字。
Now you might think this is a little strange because usually hope we want it 我们有什么未来的感觉而且要用 simple present tense but 这个要用一个过去式 It's pretty special here
没错，在这里的话特别注意 I hope you gained 好，这个通常 I hope 通常是指未来的事情，但这里的话我希望您刚刚已经得到了什么资讯，这是比较特殊的一个使用。
Number 3, Mr. Campbell says, Yes, I did. It was a phenomenal introduction. I learned a lot in an hour.
Okay, yes, I did. 我真的学到很多啊。It was a phenomenal introduction. Phenomenal, that means very, very good.
Super good.
Yes. 然后他说 I learned a lot in an hour. 我刚刚在1小时里面学到了非常非常多的资讯。
I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. 再来 we have hope in past tense. You really don't say this a lot, but here we are 2次。
没错，他的话路易斯也讲了 I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. When you say I'm overwhelmed 通常是好像东西压垮了通常是太多的资讯太多的工作让你整个喘不过气来的时候你会用这个字那在这边的话资讯量很庞大你会用 overwhelming 如果你要讲自己的感觉 I feel overwhelmed 好后面的话 ing 会去掉变成 ed 那在这里的话说 I hope it wasn't too overwhelming 希望给你的资讯量不会太大让你消化不来
Now the 相反 not really the opposite but the kind of other word here is underwhelmed. And underwhelmed means you are disappointed. It doesn't mean like, 我没什么压力. But one word we can't say is I'm whelmed. So we can overwhelm, we can be underwhelmed, but we can't whelmed.
所以要么就是多，要么就是少，但是没有办法 whelmed。所以你 underwhelmed 的意思就是有点失望，说这才这样子而已。倒不是说没有压力，而是说觉得怎么少少的，我期望更高，但是没有给到那个。所以 overwhelmed。Underwhelmed 都有，但是没有 whelmed.
In line number 5, Mr. Campbell says, No, not at all. I'm impressed with how clearly you explained everything. It was actually very interesting.
Yeah, no, not at all. 不会。I'm impressed with how clearly you explained everything. 在这边的话特别注意一下 I'm impressed with something. 有的时候你会讲 I'm impressed by something 也可以。然后 impressed 就是觉得让什么东西对自己印象深刻，或者是说觉得哇，看了这东西很有记忆点。如果人家你做了一件很酷的事情，我会说I'm impressed， 佩服，真厉害。这是口语上常常会提到的用法。It was actually very interesting。所以我们学到 It was actually interesting。It was phenomenal introduction. It was very informative. 都是用来表达感想的一些常用的说法。
Let's take a quick break. Hey, welcome back to Enjoy English School. We are talking about taking a factory tour. We are on day 2 and line number 6. Louisa says, I'm happy to hear you say that. I think the majority of guests to the factory find the tour a bit boring.
OK， 好 ，Louisa 就讲了，哇，你这样讲真的好开心 ，I'm happy to hear you say that。好，好高兴你这样说，觉得很棒，很有趣。I think the majority of guests to the factory， 我想到说，大部分来我们这个工厂来参观的人 ，the majority of something。I think you know the word major。major 的话是主要的，它的名词是 the majority， 大部分的。大部分来工厂参观的人呢 ，find the tour a bit boring。If you find something， 然后接这个形容词的话，你就是对这个东西本身的观感吧。所以当你说 find the tour a bit boring，that means you think it's a boring tour.
Yeah,
所以在这里的话
，yeah，
所以在这里的话 ，find something 怎么样？这个后面怎么样的形容词就是用来修饰这个 tour。好，在这里的话，你可以不妨画一个这个箭头，去表达这个 tour 的这种感觉。
But remember, if we change it to think, the tour or feel the tour, we want to say is a bit boring.
没错。
Okay, line number 7, Mr. Campbell says, really? Well, I think you've been an excellent guide today. I'll be sure to let the CEO know as well.
哇，这个人Mr. Campbell 感觉人真的很好，对不对？他就说 Really 真的吗 ？Well, I think you've been an excellent guide today. 我觉得你今天做这个参访呢，做的介绍非常非常清楚。I'll be sure to let the CEO know as well. 我一定会让你的老板知道你这次做的非常的棒。
Remember, we can't say let the CEO to know. Let 不可以加 to, but we could say like allow or permit. But 在这边 it's the different meaning here.
Yeah, 没错，我让老板知道你做的非常好。
Yeah, we wouldn't say allow the CEO to know. That's not correct here.
对。
And our next line, number 8, Louisa says that's very gracious of you, Mr. Campbell. But speaking of the CEO, you should probably get going to make the lunch meeting.
好，所以呢，Louisa 就讲了，他说 That's very gracious of you, Mr. Campbell。这个地方特别注意一下 gracious。好，在平常的时候，很多时候都是指 kind。You've been very kind to someone, especially some people of the lower rank。所以说，对于一些你比较可能阶级啦，或是层级比较低的人，你对他非常非常的有礼貌，好，代表着这是用 gracious，好，非常体恤下属啊那种感觉，好，仁慈亲和的那种感觉。在这里的话 ，gracious 可以这样说。But speaking of the CEO， 说到我们的 CEO 啊 ，you should probably get going。Get going 就是继续下面的行程 ，to what to make the lunch meeting， 这样才能赶得上我们中餐您跟 CEO 的约会。这个 gracious 这边顺便说一下，打个广告啊，就是在5月31号的时候，那个翻译里面我们有提到说，如果说你今天朋友让你等2小时，你不对他发脾气的话 ，it can also say it's very gracious of you. That means you are being kind and forgiving.
Gracious has a kind of SH sound. So above CI, I wrote an SH on my word. This gracious, maybe you know the name, Grace or Gracie. I don't hear it a lot in Taiwan, but I know a few students named Grace, and that's related to this word gracious.
哦，原来如此，很多人都叫 Grace， 对不对？
Yeah.
好 ，Grace 的话本身可能有人是天主教徒，他们也会取名叫做 Grace。好，在这里的话 ，gracious 跟 Grace 都是同一个字根。
Now, I have a great student right now named Grace,
Ah.
and works really hard. All right, and just before the break, let's take a look at this phrase, get going. Now, this means like leave, it means to go away, but you wouldn't want to say those things here. It's like, speaking of the CEO, you should leave. It feels really cold. It doesn't sound right. You should go away is really wrong. You really don't want to say this. So get going. Make sure you pay attention here. 我真的建议你接下来 leave, go away, cross them out. Don't say that here.
没错 ，get going 就是 continue， 好，继续您的行程。这样的话 continue 这样听起来就很好。不然 you should leave now 听起来感觉
Yeah.
哇，你要赶我走，这样就不行。
It's not the right phrase. Okay, let's take another short break. All right, welcome back to Enjoy English School. Let's wrap it up today with lines 9 through 13. Line number 9, Mr. Campbell says, won't you be joining us for lunch?
好，所以在第9句这个地方呢 ，Mr. Campbell 就讲了 ，Won't you be joining us for lunch？ 啊，难道您不会跟我们一起共进晚餐？我还有你们家的 CEO 3个人吗？你不会一起来吗？
So this feels like he wants her to come. If he wants to know 你有没有的话, he would say, will you be joining us for lunch? This feels like I don't know if you will come or not. But here, won't you be joining us? This feels like, yeah, I think you should be coming.
啊，对，这个地方也要特别注意一下。当你就会想说，你要表达出那种亲切友好啊，你应该一起来吧？没有一起来吗？这时候你会表达说，我很希望，我很喜欢你这样子跟我们这样子一起聊天，或是一起那个，还有一种邀请。下意识让对方知道说你来我会很高兴。Won't you be joining us for lunch？ 啊，你不会跟我们一起吃饭哦？这样。
In line number 10, Louisa says, I'm afraid not. I need to stay behind and take care of some things here.
OK， 结果Louisa 就说 I'm afraid not。好 ，or can say I'm afraid that I can't。好，我没有办法留下来呢。I need to stay behind。如果说今天提到 stay behind 的时候，多半都是 remain in the place。 rather than leave， 好，就是不离开，我要留在这个地方 and take care of some things here， 我得要在这边处理一些事情，好，他不会跟你们一起去。
Now this I'm afraid not, like,我恐怕, but we won't say the synonyms for afraid. We won't say I'm scared not, I'm frightened not. We can't say those. Like, 都是跟那个 afraid 害怕的同义词 but those don't fit here.
没错，很多时候他们虽然是大部分情况是同义词，但是有些固定的用法，说恐怕不行你不会，你怕会可能害怕或者是惊吓，你不会讲说我惊吓不行不会，中文也不会这样讲嘛，对，所以它有固定的说法。I'm afraid 是用来表达说，这件事情不会发生，但是我不想要直接告诉你，所以就说，恐怕这是没有办法的事情，让你听起来不会这么刺，这么直接。
All right, so in line number 11, Mr. Campbell says, that's a shame. Well, thank you again for the tour.
好，所以Campbell 就讲了。That's a shame. That's a pity. 就是哇，好可惜哦，你不能来。Well, thank you again for the tour. 真的再次的谢谢您，然后带我参访这一趟旅程。
And in line number 12, Louisa says, thank you for coming. Before you go, here is a small gift and a folder with some informational documents printed out for your reference.
哇，好贴心，对不对？他就告诉你说，thank you for coming. 感谢您的这个莅临哦。before you go， 在您走之前呢 ，here's a small gift， 我们有一个小小的伴手礼 ，OK，a small gift and a folder， 然后还有一个资料夹 with some informational documents， 里面呢还有一些这种提供很多资讯的这些文件。Printed out for your reference， 他们印出来是为了给您参考用的啊。这边的话就可能就附上了这个伴手礼跟它的这个资料夹，里面有很多的文件说明。
So I actually drew parentheses around the word informational because you really don't even need to say it. So here's a small gift and a folder with some documents printed out for your reference. But it's nice to see another way to use inform. Way up in line number 1, we had informative. And then, Anthony, you said about the noun information, the uncountable noun. Now, we can also shorten information into info.
没错，所以在这里的话，老师呢 ，he stole my line
对 you add the verb in there too. We didn't do the verb yet.
非常非常酷，就是刚好我也想到说是 informational 这个字也顺便提到，虽然我们在这边可以不讲，老师刚刚提到这个字 parenthesis， 指的意思就是小括号，把它括起来。平常口语上可以讲说 with some documents 就好了，但是我们在这边看到了 informational， 顺便也学到了 information inform。然后前面最开始的 informative， 在这边有 informational。info， 好多种说法都可以一次看到。
Is there an adverb form? There's no adverb. Informatively? I don't think so.
No.
He spoke informatively. Like, I imagine you could... Like, why is that not a word?
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
We're starting a new adverb right here and now. There's everything else, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Is there a gerund?
No, not
Informing.
Really. Informing, yeah, but it depends. Informing you of something.
We're just making the verb into a continuous.
That's
right.
That's
not really true. Okay, well, we're getting creative here at English. All right, let's continue. Our final line today is Mr. Campbell, line 13, saying, "Thank you very much."
Thank you very much. 好，非常非常感谢。所以他这里的话，最后再次谢谢您，然后这样讲，他告诉你说，你在走之前还要记得带什么。最后说，真的非常感谢，可能感谢你这么贴心的，还准备了小礼物，还有参考资料。
Now we could say thanks or thanks a lot, but I think Mr. Campbell quite likes Louisa and he wants to be polite to her. So he's also going to be a little formal to her by saying thank you very much. Not because formal is like a little cold and distant, but because he wants to be respectful to her.
Yeah, 没错，有的时候用正式的语言呢，不是要表达说我跟你有距离，有那种距离感，而是希望说我要尊重你，对对方表达尊重的时候，也可以使用正式的语言。
All right, let's get ready for vocab review and we'll see you then. All right, let's get started with our vocab review. And in fact, we have a lot of phrases today. Our first phrase is, glad I could be of assistance.
Glad I could be of assistance， 意思就是 be of assistance 就是 help 的意思。我很高兴能够帮得上忙，但是这个是比较正式的说法。
I'm happy I could help.
I'm happy I could help.
Our next vocabulary word is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. That means outstanding.
That's right.
Extremely good. Excellent.
This is phenomenal is bigger than amazing or excellent.
它是可比 amazing, excellent 更厉害的。That's phenomenal. 真是太了不起了。
Our next word, our next phrase is to find something boring, to find something interesting.
To find something boring, 这个 something 是什么样的感想？对这件事的感想会放在后面。I find something interesting， 我觉得这东西很有趣。I find something boring， 好，觉得这东西很无聊。通常你如果说后面还有字的话，你可以说 I find it interesting to do something。有的时候还有机会看到后面这个地方加 it， 后面配上了形容词之后，再搭配去做什么事情，配上一个 to do something。
Phenomenal explanation.
Phenomenal 就是说超赞的，好快。
Our next phrase is I'm afraid not.
I'm afraid not， 就是我恐怕不行哎，这样。
And our last one for today, that's very gracious of you.
That's very gracious of you， 通常是哇，你人真好，或讲到说是你非常的宽宏大量，都可以指这个意思。
Well, it's been very gracious of you to have joined us these 2 days and all month long at Enjoy English School. We know we'll see you again real soon. So for Enjoy English School, I am Chris Gorski.
I'm Antony.
We'll check you out next time. Bye-bye.
Taking a factory tour. Dialogue B. 1 hour later, the tour has finished.
Thank you for the tour, Louisa. It was very informative.
I'm glad that I could be of assistance. I hope you gained a thorough understanding of our operations here at Ivy Snacks.
Yes, I did. It was a phenomenal introduction. I learned a lot in an hour.
I hope it wasn't too overwhelming.
No, not at all. I'm impressed with how clearly you explained everything. It was actually very interesting.
I'm happy to hear you say that. I think the majority of guests to the factory find the tour a bit boring.
Really? Well, I think you've been an excellent guide today. I'll be sure to let the CEO know as well.
That's very gracious of you, Mr. Campbell. But speaking of the CEO, you should probably get going to make the lunch meeting.
Won't you be joining us for lunch?
I'm afraid not. I need to stay behind and take care of some things here.
That's a shame. Well, thank you again for the tour.
Thank you for coming. Oh, before you go, here is a small gift and a folder with some informational documents printed out for your reference.
Thank you very much.